Yo, did this dude really say he's the only player in top 8 with a driver's license? God damn!
I have a license. I bet a lot of people in this top 8 actually don't have a license.
Bravery, determination, resilience, these are traits held by heroes among fiction and reality throughout human history. But lesser told is that of the villain, and while their stories might end on opposite paths, their beginnings are often similar.
My ultimate goal for, like, in general Smash is just being the #1 player, right? But that's like one of those like super like long-term goals where it's like, I know me as a person, I could definitely do that, but it's something that like, no matter what, just takes a lot of work because there can only be one #1.
It can be easy to assume that the good shall always prevail against all odds, but what if things were a little different? What if there was an individual that was able to overcome all odds and adversities placed their ways, but looked to complete their own agenda? In the Smash Bros community, it's rare to see a villain. Some players like Sonics and Akola are given that title simply based off their character choices, but in general, top players seem to be at least respectable towards each other. It's not often that you get to see someone gain that title of a villain by actively acting like one. Call it El Diablo, call it the Zombair, call it whatever you want. Rob's back air was lighting foes up all weekend at Genesis X, courtesy of Zomba. Okay, we've hit quota, let's see it in the comments. Go ahead, copy paste it, let's see it. Okay, anyway, starting his career back in Smash 4 as a prominent Wi-Fi warrior, Zomba has risen to prominence in the competitive Smash Ultimate scene, not only as one of the strongest players in the world, but one of the ones that's willing to say whatever's on their mind. It was clear from very early on that Zomba was going to be a great player. He began competing in 2016 over in Staten Island, that is not a real place, and quickly began to see success, reaching the PR by the beginning of 2018. By the end of that year, he rose all the way up to #2 in his sub-region and number 26 on the Wi-Fi Warrior ranking as a Bayonetta and Cloud co-main. And when Smash Ultimate launched, Zomba was immediately a multi-character threat in Tri-State, and he started picking up some legitimately big wins. It was his Roy and Link that brought his initial success, but when Zomba added Rob into his arsenal, everything changed. Now look, I know what we're all gonna say about Rob in Smash Ultimate at this point, and despite what you might hear from the man himself, Rob has consistently found success throughout every era of Smash Ultimate, and even in 2024, Rob is one of the strongest and most represented characters. That's because he's an easy top tier, but that being said, Rob is not a favorite among spectators. He is big, not the fastest, and doesn't have huge elaborate combos, relies on zoning you out with huge projectiles, but then when you finally close the space, he has some amazing boxing options, specifically with his down tilt. This move can stuff you out and reset, repeat that situation a few times, and then you have... Okay, his combo game is straightforward and also consistent, but with the use of Gyro, an item he can launch out, he can perform 0 to deaths against every character in the cast, giving him the reputation as one of the cheesiest characters in the game. It took less than a year after launch for Zomba to rise to a state-level threat in New York, debuting in at number 11 on their Q3 2019 PR with Rob, Roy, Link, and a ton of other characters being listed among his mains. Zomba's practice was relentless, and he continued to improve and rise up the ranks to number 9 in New York City to start 2020, but this time with Link, Rob, Joker, and Sonic. Oh, God, okay. Yeah, I know we had that whole section about how good Rob is, but Zomba is legitimately just good at the game. He's had PR wins with all characters I've mentioned before: Lucina, Kazuya, Falco, Wii Fit, Steve, Aegis, Game & Watch, and many others, and... Wait, what is... He's never owned a Switch. After that number 9 ranking, we saw offline tournaments come to a complete halt, and Zomba took advantage of that extra time to practice online once he got a Switch. When tournaments returned in 2021, we saw a familiar face of DeBuzz continue his reign at number 1 in the region, but it was now Zomba fighting for second best in the state. Now running the robot almost exclusively, Zomba had reached a level of dominance with this character that the state had never seen before. Once DeBuzz stopped actively qualifying for the PR in 2022, Zomba took over that number 1 spot and has had a stranglehold over it ever since, with a current streak of 2 years. And I'm not sure if DeBuzz would have even held it for much longer if he did stick around. In mid-2023, Zomba took his first trip to Japan, where he picked up a rather disappointing 25th at Delta number 4 and bounced back with the 9th at Kaguribi 10. His confidence following this trip seemed to be at an all-time high though, and just a month following that trip to Japan, Zomba got 7th at Battle of BC 5 and then won his first major, crowned the 3rd the week following. This also included wins over Sonics, MKLeo, Tweak, Shootone, and Jackal, just to name a few. It was here where we began to see some of these villain tendencies shine through though.
For the fans, bro.
Any words for the fans, Zomba?
I still think Big Boss is better than me.
Oh.
By like a considerable amount.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you agree?
He's so humble.
Yeah, I mean, I am the most humble Super Smash Bros. Player.
Very wise words from Zomba. Thank you so much for that. You can tell this kid has been a shitter his whole life. It's never going to stop. A win on Leo is only going to make it worse.
Zomba openly trolled Leo on Twitter prior to the event after beating him in their previous encounter, and he even rocked the Mickey Leo in-game tag, and he went on to 3-0 him in dominant fashion. Other than an outlier 33rd at Port Priority 8, Zomba didn't place lower than 7th for the rest of 2023 after that Japan expedition. His 2022 ended with a 2nd at Genesis Black, which, believe it or not, was his 6th time missing out on getting into a Smash Invitational by a single placement. Yeah, maybe that's why he's a villain, I don't know. His 21-15 record against the top 20 unfortunately wasn't enough to cover for his list of suspect losses he accrued over the year, which resulted in him having a rather low 15th end-of-year ranking. Between missing out on Watch the Throne, his robbery of a ranking, and the changing meta of Ultimate, 2024 brought a new spark to Zomba's competitive spirit. And given his previous persona of being a troll, he leaned into that completely and has decided to take on a role as a true heel of Smash Ultimate. Before getting into Zomba's amazing 2024 run, we should probably talk about some of the roadblocks he's faced in the past. First and foremost is the fact that he's a fucking zoomer. That gives him the added buff of having the time to learn how to fight characters like Steve and Kazuya, so they're not really that much of an issue for him. Zomba has, however, notably struggled against a few key characters in the past. Some of them are Young Link, Mr. Game & Watch, Bayonetta, Snake, and Mega Man, and all of those characters have one thing in common. They're pretty bad matchups for Rob. Back then, Zomba would play his secondary Lucina to cover in some of these matchups, and he was even able to defeat Meister's Game & Watch with the Lucina back at the Big House 10. But after a defeat in their last matchup, we were likely to see Zomba stick it out with the Rob in their next encounter. Also worth mentioning, there was recently a new tech discovered with Rob that makes his neutral air an even safer pressure move, if that was even imaginable, and specifically against characters like Game & Watch with great out of shield options, this technique is amazing. Zomba himself has said he's been making optimizations in these matchups that have him confident in a victory.
I advanced the Rob versus Game & Watch meta. The matchup is low-key not hard losing. It's only like minus 1.5. So it's doable. I've just been in the lab recently, so
I like it.
that'll help.
So the great thing about Rob is that because of his kit, he's still really good. Even without that technique, a bad matchup is always just a few gyro combos away from a game win. While in theory, Rob has a lot of flaws between his size and seemingly exploitable disadvantage state, when you're actually playing and human error is factored in, Rob's potent combo game and amazing reversal potential allows for the momentum of a match to switch in an instant. Would this be the deciding factor in his bracket success? Spoilers, not really, but there's another factor that was going to hold a lot of weight in Zomba's potential bracket run: the actual players. Zomba's spread against the best players in the world was honestly really good. He's only had a few players ranked below him that have consistently given him trouble that don't use any of the aforementioned bad matchups, those being Cola and Tilde. And for Zomba to bring home a major win, in theory, he's not really looking to dodge any of the best players besides Mia maybe, but he's really just trying to avoid a few specific matchups. So out of school and at a surprisingly low number 15 on the 2023 Lumi rank, he had a lot to prove in this new year. Trying to replicate a similar projection of improvement as his last trip, Zomba decided to take the end of 2023 lightly in preparation for another Japan trip to start 2024. Since the days of Brawl, if you wanted to improve in Smash, it has been said to go to boot camp with the Japanese Smash scene. Just in time for one of Japan's busiest weeks of the year, Zomba had the pair of majors Umabura 10 and Kowloon 9 along with the Cafeteria Cup Invitational to look forward to. During this trip, Zomba got 9th at Umabura with wins on Cosmos and Ashimo, and 9th at Kowloon with wins over Gachipi and Base Mage, who both beat Zomba in their last encounter. In the context of a Japan trip, these placements were honestly great, but the test for Zomba on this trip would be the Invitational. While that wasn't as stacked as the majors, Zomba absolutely showed up big. He took wins over Ouch, Senra, Neo, and Atelier in winners and grand finals. This added him to the short list of American players to win a tiered Japanese tournament in Smash Ultimate and gave him a huge boost of confidence going into Genesis. And what's crazy is it honestly kind of worked. Like some sort of anime power-up, Zomba once again seemed to reap the benefits of traveling to Japan and began to push himself into another gear. He was obviously already incredibly skilled at the game, but it seemed like he had something he didn't before: unwavering confidence in himself. Zomba was a player that you would frequently see get frustrated and tilted while playing, and this was partly because he was like 14 years old in some of these clips, but it was something that was known to hold him back from being as good as he really could be. He had definitely been on a positive trajectory prior to this, but this was the push that propelled him up and over the summit. Since his first tournament back in the US, Brooklyn Brawl's #1 number 100 on January 21st, Zomba has yet to lose an event. That's a 6-tournament streak leading up to Genesis. This includes undefeated records against WebJP, Syrup, Jackal, Dabuz, and even Lugi, who he double eliminated at Valhalla 4 in Denmark. Yep, kinda random, but this win on February 4th entered Zomba into an exclusive club with MKLeo, Kameme, T, and Zachary as the only players to win a tiered event in North America, Europe, and Japan. And getting this 3-piece just 35 days into the year is something that we'll likely not see replicated for a long time.
I wish more of their European top players would come. A little lazy that a top and American player will come here to you guys without even an invite, and a lot of you guys didn't show up. Low-key lame, but I'm still glad that the people that came did come, and it was a great time.
So now we finally gotten to February 16th, Genesis X, and as the 12th seed, Zomba was surprisingly confident, even claiming he was going to win the event on the Lights Out podcast the week before.
And then it's going to be me and Spargo and Grands like it again. I lose set 1, game 5. It's really good. Then in set 2, I'm up 2-0, and I look at the crowd, I phase up, and then it's a 2-stock low percent. I win Genesis.
Zomba's projected path was going to be Echo, a top French Palutena, into Void Chic. Zomba had taken multiple losses to Louis Money in the past, so an upset here might have been possible, and Void has had a great record against Rob in the past, beating multiple top pilots of the character, so right away Zomba was going to have some trouble. Wait, they both got upset. Okay. Well, Zomba ended up earning his top 64 spot with a 3-0 over Sparkle's Hero and a 3-1 on D-Tier's Ice Climbers. His next challenge would end up being Tilde, and like we had mentioned before, this was a pretty tough matchup for Zomba in the past, and honestly just a hard one for Rob in general. Tilde holds a winning record lifetime and double eliminated Zomba during their previous matchup at Xeno 300. The set itself doesn't seem to be available anywhere, but with a 3-0 victory, we can only assume that Tilde kept it close, but Zomba was able to convincingly close it out. As for his next opponent, that would be one of the favorites to take the whole event in Gluttony. While he may not be one of the 4 horsemen of Ultimate, which are the 4 best players in the world, Akola, Spargo, Sonics, and Mia, Gluttony was right there under them. Their last matchup was actually 2 years prior at Genesis 8, where Gluttony cleaned up the set 3-0, and with Zomba's loss to France's other top Wario, Crepe Soleil, the odds didn't initially seem to be in his favor, but in a way, this was actually a lucky draw for Zomba. Gluttony had made 2 clutch comebacks against Cola the round prior to win a last-hit Game 5, and like I mentioned before, Cola was an exceedingly bad matchup for Zomba, winning both of their last sets in 2023 and holding an 8-2 all-time record. But Gluttony's Wario would bring Zomba the closest to defeat he had faced yet at this event. While some of his wins later in the tournament might have been more impressive based on namesake, this set was an absolute battle for Zomba. Gluttony was looking like the clear favorite to start the set, beginning with an explosive 2-stock, and throughout the match managed to take the first stock in 4 out of 5 games. Down a significant amount, Zomba fought back before getting caught by a Gluttony half-waff combo which barely didn't kill. He scraped his way back in and closed it out with an on-brand Zombair, sending Europe's best to fight for a top 8 spot on the loser's side, as well as securing his own spot in winner's quarters.
Now tilting both of them. Look at this on There's no way. Oh, but he's already there. He teleported. He teleported. Wait, can we get a replay on that?
Next up was Tweak, who Zomba has had an overwhelmingly positive set record against, going completely undefeated against him in all of 2023. And this matchup was one of the most dominant encounters yet. With a 3-0, Zomba sent Tweak into losers and was now back in winner semis of Genesis. Top 8 now locked in, the Sunday finals would be where Zomba put it all on the line. And look, I know we've talked a lot about Zomba being seen as a heel or a villain in the community, and maybe you think we're over-exaggerating there, but what he did at this event was a level of trolling Smash was not remotely prepared for.
Air time in there. A grab, man. A grab could really end this whole set. But an up smash will do the same damn thing.
Just business as usual. As the best player in this venue, it's really not anything bad when I'm just beating everybody back to back to back to back. Look, you know, I don't really practice like that. I'm just better, but, you know, I mean, it's 1 set at a time, only 2 more to win Genesis, and I mean, low-key, it's really not that hard. Significantly better than everybody, and I'm gonna prove it. Best player in the entire globe. Doesn't matter where, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna win.
Wait, this is he's getting stepped. Oh, okay. What we doing?
Yeah, we're probably not gonna see fire.
Oh my God!
No way!
No way!
And I look at the crowd, I phase up.
I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna win. And you know what? Anyone that doubted me, keep at it. It doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna keep winning no matter what. Well, seeing as how I'm an actual real human being and I don't take Smash that seriously since I don't have a sponsor. By the way, free agent, by the way. I'm already in college. I already have stuff I gotta pay because of my car. I have a license. I bet a lot of people in this top 8 actually don't have a license, by the way. And you know what? I'm just gonna keep doing it. It's money on money. It's not anything I haven't seen before.
But how long? Oh! Wow! Wow! Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, Zomba? Are you kidding me? With the face up, that's crazy! What?
So, just like that, with only a single game lost, Zomba had beaten 3 of North America's top 4 players in a row and was now sitting comfortably in grand finals of Genesis X. His comments put a target on his back, but his incredible ability in-game only made that target harder and harder to hit. Here's a look at what the loser side of the bracket was like, and as most of us could have assumed given Mia's early departure from the bracket, Sonics and Spargo were continuing their all-time rivalry with another Genesis matchup, this time in losers finals. Like he had done on the winner side against Ken, Spargo stuck with a Korin through the entirety of this set, trading games back and forth until it went down to a decisive game 5. And by the way, can we just talk? Can Korin be a top tier now, please? Anyway, in the end, perhaps it was that experience against Neo in losers quarterfinals that gave him the edge, but Sonics was able to put it all together and close out the set, getting his rematch against Zomba.
God! Bro, absolutely destroyed on that last game. Sonic said, I got this done!
And in a matchup between 2 players given the title of villain by the community, whether for their character or for saying he's capable of driving a motor vehicle, a brand new Genesis champion would be crowned right here.
Back on stage yet again. Back to the other side. Neutral air. No, not enough. The laser though. I'm keeping my advantage. Oh, we locked in. We locked in. That's it. No, they don't do. He said, get out of here. This is my time. With the M2. With the M2, the meanest Rob hook you ever seen. To take Genesis X, that's our champion, Zomba. Yo, Zomba, talk to me, baby.
Despite his reputation online, the character he was playing, and the exorbitant amount of shit talk he dropped throughout the bracket, the crowd recognized that they just witnessed greatness, and they had to respect him for it. And just to continue with the trolling, because why not, as unhumble as possible, his last words of the event were him claiming he was the best in the world and wished he had played the Japanese competitors Akola and Mia instead to prove he really was the greatest. Love it or hate it, the fact that he did that during a top 8 ceremony is some legendary shit. Thanks for watching.
Hey! I gotta ask you some questions. How you feeling after all of that?
I'm disappointed that Mia wasn't able to get top 8 because I really wanted to beat him, and I wish Akala was here. I really want to prove that I'm the best in the world, and I think this tournament showed it. That's it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm better than you guys. GG's.
Hey, thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this type of content, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. I really want to get to our first 10K on this channel, and I think that would just be fucking rad if we were able to do it pretty soon, so click the button if you haven't already. And if you really want to help us make more of these, you can click that little join button next to subscribe, and for a few bucks, you'll get some sweet perks along with, you know, being a producer of this channel, which is kind of cool. Okay, I'm done. Go watch one of these now. See ya.